Welcome to Hindsight. It's July 4th weekend, and we're once again in Dubuque, Iowa. I thought I'd start off the way I left off my last video here, with the train behind me. Today I'll show you around Dubuque once again, show you some things I didn't show you before. Also, we're going to go to a Civil War reenactment and to Marion, Iowa. I'll try to show you around Marion. Right now, let's watch this train go over the bridge. Welcome to the Matthias Ham House. This is the ice cream social on the 4th, sponsored by the Dubuque County Historical Society. I'll be showing you around. There's a Civil War artillery group here that I'm joining for the day.
So good morning, my name is Joseph Rapp, and I am with the Dubuque County Historical Society, and we're at the Matthias Ham Historic Site for the 56th Annual Ice Cream Social. We have a replica lead mine here, and we let our visitors check that out with some of the tools that we have, and we let them compare the weights of the galena and also the limestone, and they also nicknamed the galena gray gold, and they had other nicknames for it as well. But before Matthias Ham came here, as well as so many others to this tri-state region, this lead mining, zinc mining region, Julian Dubuque came here in the late 1780s and worked with the Meskwaki people to extract the lead out of the ground. And then the city of Dubuque was founded after he had passed away. But we have a couple of examples of the shot, the bullets, which is the chief thing that the lead was used for when it was first extracted in the early 19th century. It went on to be actually used for so many other things in history. This is a chunk of the smelted lead ore, and if you had been in this area when we had several smelting furnaces on both sides of the river, you would have smelled some rotten eggs in the air as the sulfur was being burnt off from the raw ore of the galena. And then in later years, after the gold rush had taken some of the men away from this region and the need for the lead ore being extracted and the price of it went down, then they discovered zinc at a deeper level in all three states. Many uses for the zinc, but all of the lead mining and the zinc mining in the city of Dubuque, where the deposits were much smaller than in southwestern Wisconsin and northwestern Illinois, that was all finished about 100 years ago for the most part. But across the river in Wisconsin and Illinois, the mining continued into the 1970s, and there are actually some men still alive who had worked in those mines across the river. About Matthias? So Matthias Ham, his last name actually had two M's originally. His grandparents, all four of his grandparents, had come to North Carolina, the colony of North Carolina, before the American Revolution from the western part of Germany, and they eventually moved westward, and then he came up with the lead rush from central Missouri, Saline County there. Claimed land on this side of the river before legal settlement was actually permitted. He and so many other lead miners and early settlers were forced across the river by federal troops coming here from Fort Crawford at what is Prairie du Chien now. And so then 1833, June 1st, is when Dubuque actually sees itself as its legal settlement, legal beginning, and that's also for the state of Iowa. And by that time, the Meskwaki people had been primarily removed after the Black Hawk War. But he claimed this land, several hundred acres, wanted to start a town called Eagle Point, which is now just a very nice neighborhood of the city of Dubuque. Eagle Point Park up on the hill did have a terrifically large outcropping of rock along the riverfront that people noticed before there were any man-made structures around it. But he came here, dug and mined for the lead ore, worked with others, built the mansion over there after he had built a stone cottage and also had lived in a log cabin. The one over there is not his actually though. His log cabin is long gone, but that one is actually the oldest building in the state of Iowa. It's from 1833 and it was actually built downtown. But Mr. Ham and his family lived on this site until his passing, and then his family continued here until 1911, and his last daughter here sold the house to the city of Dubuque. And so the city of Dubuque operates the grounds, and the Dubuque County Historical Society operates the museum here in a terrific partnership. And so that's how we can have events like this and others throughout the year at the site.
Okay, I'm Carolyn Richard. I am the vivandière for the 3rd Iowa Light Artillery out of Dubuque, also their historian. The 3rd Iowa came out of Dubuque in 1862. Iowa only had 4 units of artillery. It was a new and poor state at the time, and the 3rd came out of Dubuque. Served in Arkansas and Missouri for the most part through the entire war. We had 3 captains. One captain, the first captain was Mortimer M. Hayden. He lived on Booth Street. He built his house after the war. It is the Fig Leaf store on Booth Street now. It was a duplex when he built it. Some of his relatives rented the other half. And yeah, that's the house he lived in until he died. The second captain was a young man named Wright, and he was from Lamont area. He was in his 20s. After the war, he became a lawyer. He served as captain with the 3rd, I think a year. After the war, he gets his degree as a lawyer. He moves west with the railroad as a lawyer for the railroad, and he dies from TB when he was 26 or something like that. He was quite young, which he got in the military when he was in the service. And actually, what killed Hayden was the same thing. They both got TB at some given point down in Arkansas. The third one was Lyons. He was a farmer and raised cattle and horses out by where is it? Not too far from Mason City, Iowa. After the war, he became a senator of the state. Was a rather important person. He served with the 3rd as a captain for the last year. Most of the men were from Iowa, Illinois, and Grant County, Wisconsin. Men came as far west as Waterloo and Cedar Falls area, up to Decorah and that area, down to the Quad Cities, and then Illinois and Wisconsin. They served honorably. They fought in 2 major battles. 62 was at Pea Ridge, Arkansas, their first fight.
So where's the car show?
And in 64, it was Helena, Arkansas, during the 4th of July. Okay, welcome to 3rd Iowa Light Artillery. 3rd Iowa came out of Dubuque in 1862. Our captain, good old Mortimer Hayden, lived on Bluff Street in the house that is now the Fig Leaf store. He built that house after the war. He was a sheriff in town for 2 different times. He was a merchant. He came here very early, one of the first settlers. Once this area was open to white men. Yep. Okay, I'm talking.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't hear you. I got earplugs. Eh?
And so anyway, we got 2 mountain howitzers here. Mountain howitzer will shoot a 12-pound ball about 3/4 of a mile. They were antiques during the Civil War, but they were still used in the Civil War. Eventually, 3rd Iowa will be getting, about halfway through the war, we're getting rifle guns, and rifle guns will shoot 3-4 miles. But in the beginning, 3rd Iowa was given old things from the previous war, and we went into battle with that. It takes 8 people to fire a cannon. You're going to have 3 people on the limber. One guy's going to bring the line. Number 6 brings Number 5 brings the round up to the cannon. Number 6 and number 7 is going to figure out how long the fuses need to be, so it will go off at a certain time. Then we've got number 2. Number 2 is going to be pulling out what's left of the powder bag after you fire the gun. And he's also going to put the round into the front of the barrel. Number 1 man, he's got to ram the round into the barrel. And then after it's fired, he's going to clean out the barrel so there's no sparks left in the barrel to put the next round in. Number 3 is me. I have a thumb guard, and I will be putting that over the vent hole at the end of the cannon to keep air from flowing through it, so that flows, any flames that are left in there doesn't get any bigger. This is what my great-grandfather did. I have his original, and he was with the Ohio artillery during the Civil War. If I didn't have this, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be sitting in air conditioning comfort, but I have this and been doing this for 20-some years. Number 4 man, he's going to put a primer in. The primers back then looked like this. It was a tube that had powder in the bottom of it, and the same chemical. My tongue's going. Same chemical as a match on the top. You pull the wire out of the tube, that makes a spark, shoots the fire down into the barrel, makes the whole thing go off. So he'll put that in, and he will then pull the string and make it go boom. A well-trained crew should be able to load, fire, and hit their target 3 times in 1 minute.
It's going to be loud, so make sure you close your stand down like that. You don't want the loudness.
Because we're in such a confined area, we're using a relatively small amount of powder. But you can't get it too small or it will tumble in there and it won't fire properly. Pick and prime. Come to the ready. Fire. Ready. Fire. Search the piece. We're going to fire each one twice, so hang around. Pretty cool. We're going to do eyebrows now.
Good morning from Dubuque, Iowa. What you just saw was the sun rising over the Mississippi River. Well, we will be leaving in a few hours. I'm sorry I didn't get to show you around Marion, Iowa, like I had planned. We were too busy visiting with family. So I want to thank you for joining me here, and I ask that if you liked this program to hit the like button And if you haven't subscribed yet, please, I ask you, please do subscribe.